I think we're ready. All right. What's up, YouTube? What's up, family? What's up, newcomers? Welcome to the family. Welcome to the channel. Sit back and watch as we reveal 15 facts that are nearly impossible to believe. Let's get it.
1.2 million cubic miles of ice hold 70% of our freshwater. Here are 15 other facts that are nearly impossible to believe.
Hmm.
We generally think of space as being really far away, but in reality, it's not actually that far. The generally accepted altitude of space, or rather the imaginary line where space begins, is the Kármán line. The Kármán line is of course not a physical object, but instead just an altitude where an imaginary line sits that we defined as the border between space and not space. It sits at about 100 kilometers or 62.1 miles above sea level. That might sound like a long way, but if you could drive on a vertical highway, it would only take about an hour to reach the Kármán line. For comparison, if you instead wanted to plan your road trip all the way to the moon, it would take over 4.5 months. Yeah, space really isn't that far away. The biggest issue really is just driving straight up. Although what's not an issue is falling straight down. Unless of course you're standing on the ground, in which case you can't really fall anywhere. Except to the ground, I guess. And while it takes about an hour to reach space, if you fell in a hole that went straight to the center of the Earth, it would take over 19 minutes to reach the bottom of that hole, or the center of the Earth.
Nice.
That's long enough for light to travel to the moon and back over 445 times. Although if you counted air resistance into that, it'd actually take more like 33 hours. Most of that time, you'd be traveling around 120 miles per hour. That's the speed of a small plane. Something that's even faster than that, though, are tsunamis. Tsunamis can travel at speeds nearly 600 miles per hour. That's faster.
See? Yeah. I don't know what country be having them. I actually forgot. But yeah, that's crazy. And I don't know if that's a tsunami or the tidal wave. Both can kill you. Like which wave is like the height of the buildings? Which one is that? Because yeah, I mean, you know. Let me get in the character. Oh, oh yes, babe. Can't wait to see you. And I just planned out this vacation to the Bahamas trip. I got your mom to watch the kids. Perfect time. And she like, okay, well, what you doing? I'm nothing. I'm just taking the view. I'm just taking the view. Say you live in a building, high rise building. God forbid. You know, boom. I'm just loving the view, cities, the lights. Then you just see the wave. I don't even think that's possible though.
Faster than most airliners. At
But
that speed, a tsunami could travel across the entire Pacific Ocean in less than 13 hours. Of course, this is the speed of the waves out in the middle of the ocean. Near the shore, the speed decreases and the height increases. This is what causes waves to break. In fact, out in the middle of the ocean, the tsunamis can be over 300 miles long. While most tsunamis are only a few feet in height, tsunamis can
yeah,
actually reach heights of over 1,700 feet, which is taller than the Empire State Building.
so those.
Oh, and even though a tsunami can travel across the Pacific Ocean in just 13 hours, the Pacific Ocean is actually larger than all the land masses on Earth combined. In fact, the Pacific Ocean covers about 30% of the Earth's surface, and combining all the rivers, lakes, and oceans together, around 71% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. Perhaps the reason why we've only explored about 5% of our oceans. In fact, around 2,000 new marine species are discovered every year.
Yep, 2,000, and they said every year. Hmm. You know, hey, we may not know why NASA stopped discovering it. And you know what? It's good, cause some things just not meant to be explored or to be known, right? Because with me, first off, I mean, it's literally impossible. Like, obviously, the further we go, the pressure. So we're gonna be dead. Same thing with them millionaires or whatever in the submarine. Then y'all seen what happened to them? It just crushed, imploded. So it's like, okay, can't do that. And the light don't go that far. Like, okay, the further down you go, the less light you see. You know, I don't really know. Different creatures, but just imagine like what creatures you think might be in there. I don't know, like a two-headed mixed breed fish slash whatever. Listen,
compared to
I'm not,
mammals, which we only discover about 50
listen,
new species every year.
listen.
With all this water covering most of the Earth's surface, it's no wonder the Earth was nicknamed the Blue Marble. Speaking of the Pacific Ocean, in the western Pacific Ocean, near the Mariana Islands, lies the Mariana Trench, which you might know is the deepest place in the ocean.
Yeah,
The deepest portion of the Mariana Trench has been named Challenger Deep, and for good reason. You see, down at a depth of over 36,000 feet, you have that much water stacked on top of you. And because of this, the pressure at that depth is nearly 8 tons per square inch, which is the equivalent of having 3 SUVs sitting on just 1 square inch.
but I never understood it because it's like, listen, chat. This may sound dumb, but it don't matter. I'm just generally curious. So if the pressure is that high to us, how do the animals survive though? You know, I'm just literally just being honest. Like, wow, interesting.
That's enough pressure to
I'm
break
just
aluminum and puncture 12-gauge steel.
listen.
2 missions have been made to those incredible depths, compared to the nearly 7,000 missions made to the top of Mount Everest. Any submarines that travel to the insane depths of Challenger Deep have to be specifically designed to not break under nearly 7 miles of water. That's well over a mile deeper than Mount Everest is tall. In fact, submarines can shrink by about 2.5 inches from the immense pressure at those depths. Rather surprisingly though, the temperature at this depth is generally only about 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which really isn't that cold for being so far from sunlight. I mean, it can't get too cold anyway though, because believe it or not, there is a limit to how cold anything can get, the minimum temperature being negative 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason nothing can get colder than this temperature is because heat is produced by particles like atoms and molecules jostling around. So the minimum temperature is when these particles are perfectly still. This temperature, of course, being negative 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is exactly 0 degrees Kelvin. Speaking of zero, if you've ever tried to divide a number by 0 on a calculator, you might have gotten a divide by 0 error. This is because division is the exact opposite of multiplication, and anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So the question arises, what is something divided by 0? Well, if you divide anything by a number between 1 and 0, the number actually grows. This is the exact opposite of multiplication, where anything multiplied by a number between 1 and 0 shrinks. What's interesting is that the size of the resulting number increases as the dividing number decreases, until you of course get to 0, at which point the resulting number is unknown. Well, kind of. I mean, it's clearly infinity, although infinity certainly isn't a number. If you think about it, this does actually make sense. I mean, if division is the opposite of multiplication, and anything multiplied by 0 is infinitely small, which is what 0 is, then anything divided by 0 should be infinitely large.
Yeah, he's right. Because like, think about it. If you're trying to find your paycheck, right? Because people do this. Okay. Say you got a job, you got hired, you probably lied on the job, but hey, you see that, okay, it's 18, it's not that bad. So this how you find percentage. Okay, say 18, right? Okay, no, okay, wait, no. Okay. Say you got a check for 1,600. Times it, you multiply it, times it by how much y'all want to put in your savings, like 30%. Let's just say you put 32%, 32, and then you press the percent equal. So 32% of 1600 is 512. Y'all
Something
didn't know
that's
that
also
though.
large, although not infinitely large of course, are blue
Come
whales.
on.
Blue whales have a heart that beats only once every 10 seconds and weighs nearly a ton. In fact, the heartbeat is so loud that it can be heard up to 2 miles away. Is that why blue whales don't have stethoscopes? Although,
I never understood that either. They keep saying that I never heard it, right? And then they say the noise that they make can be heard. We never heard it. So
combined with all
how?
the various noises in the ocean, and the fact that human ears simply
How?
don't work well underwater, you probably wouldn't be able to hear it yourself. But if the ocean was
Okay,
completely silent and you had hydrophones for ears, you most certainly could.
that's wrong.
I think
He
marine
just
animals are
answered the
some of the
question.
most amazingly designed creatures. And yet another amazingly designed marine animal are dolphins. Dolphins are very special for many reasons.
Yes, dolphins are very smart, right? They're very smart. Even though they can kill you, they're very smart. Cause I've seen it. I've seen it on TikTok. You know, shout out Boosie. You know, I was watching the Animal Channel, and I played dead, and he pushed me to safety. Shout out Boosie, man. Shout out Louisiana. But like for real though, yeah. And then I seen another TikTok where like she was pregnant, and the dolphin was like communicating with the baby because they're smart.
The most notable being that they are the second most intelligent animal
Hey,
on the Earth, second of course to humans. Although, if you ask
the other.
me, they're probably actually smarter, we just won't admit it. I mean, dolphins have guided ships through dangerous waters. When was the last time you had to guide a dolphin? In fact, dolphins are so even call each other by name. Not in English, of course, but in specific whistles. Dolphins also only sleep, so while one eye is closed, the other eye is open. While one half of the brain is sleeping, the other is wide awake. This is to protect themselves from danger. How many humans do you know that sleep while watching for danger? Dolphins can also tell the difference between metals while blindfolded. This is of course possible because of their amazingly designed sonar, or echolocation, but it's still yet another thing where dolphins exceed the capability of humans.
And they hunt sharks. Y'all didn't know that. And I don't know if it was them. I don't know if I got mixed up, but I think they're bullies. They're kind of like the bullies. Not really. Obviously, it's the orca, but besides them, yeah. And they can drown you because, like I told you, boom, they just ram you. They circle around you, right? I don't know if it's them or the orcas. Like I said, you know, I'm an educated YN, and my definition of YN, I'm just young. That's it, right? I'm a civilian, guys. Okay. I'm just a young nigga, literally. I'm still young. I'm educated, right? But like I said, we watching Animal Channel. I told y'all, right? The baddies will be amazed by you because like, oh wow, you're so smart. Yeah, because I'll be watching it. Be watching that Geo Walt, any type of animal, foxes, moose, whatever. I just turn on. But like I said, I don't remember. I think it was them or the orcas. One of them, they just circle around the prey and then just take turns just ramming into you. Like, boom, they just ram you in your stomach and then you drown.
I think
Yep.
dolphins are definitely smarter than humans. Although, I guess I might just be biased because dolphins are rather cute, and humans really aren't doing a good
They're
job
not.
of proving their intelligence.
They're not.
And speaking of intelligence, dogs are one of the most intelligent creatures. They're not quite as intelligent as dolphins though, but one way they exceed humans is of course in their sense of smell. A dog's sense of smell is so good that it can detect a teaspoon of sugar in 1,000,000 gallons of water. To put that into perspective, 1,000,000 gallons of water is the size of the average pond.
Hmm.
Even though humans aren't as smart as they claim to be, we still have an amazing design. A great example of this being our efficiency. Not how good we are at getting work done, I mean there's few humans that are good at that, but instead how efficient our body is. Your brain, for example, can store about 2.5 million gigabytes of data. The resolution of the human eye is about 576 megapixels, and we can detect up to 150 frames per second. The average pixel uses about 3 bytes of space. So just in vision alone, the human brain can process the equivalent of 260 gigabytes per second. That's about the speed of a computer. And to do all this incredible work, our brain only uses about 12 watts of power. The average laptop uses about 50 watts of power, the average desktop computer can use up to 500 watts of power, and the most powerful computers on Earth, known as supercomputers, use up to 10 million watts of power. Yeah, the brain is rather efficient. Speaking of efficiency, swifts, a type of bird, can stay airborne for up to 10 months. They have this ability because they of course eat insects, most of which are in the air. Swifts also have this ability since they can sleep while flying.
See, yeah. I don't believe that. There is no way. There's no way. Nah. You see, yeah. Nah, I don't believe this. There's no way. You telling me. Doom. So what do they do when you're born? Right? Right? So like where do they go? Because they said up to 10 months. So let's just say you're trying to have, let's just say the bird is pregnant. Like, do they land on the ground first, birth the kids, and then just leave them and then be in the sky? But I still don't believe that, though. You're telling me. You're telling me you're on cruise control in the air, right? You have to fight against the wind morning and night, and you can sleep while flying. There's no way.
I'm
I
beginning to
don't
think
believe
that
that.
all our computers, airplanes, and other inventions aren't actually as great as we thought they were. Anyway, there are 206 bones in the human body, and what's so amazing about this is that a quarter of these bones are in your feet. That's 26 bones per foot, although over a quarter of your bones are in your hands. That means over 51% of your bones are in your hands and feet. That's quite a bit when your hands and feet are only about 2.3% the volume of your entire body. Oh, and remember how dolphins can sleep one half at a time? Well, snails aren't quite so good. In fact, a snail can sleep for up to 3 years. Snails only live for 3 to 15 years, so 3 years would be a large portion of their lifetime. You know something else that is related to lifetime? Language. Most likely, you've spoken at least one language for most of your life, and that language probably still exists today. But believe it or not, every 40 days, another language or
Wait, first let's just see what he about to say.
dialect goes extinct. That's
Mm. I don't know why I thought he was about to say every 40 days another language is created. That's why I had to just make sure. But like I told y'all, I'm a mixed breed. I am, half Mexican, half French. Cause yeah. Let me see, because if I remember. Ooh, yeah, I forgot. Mm, um, Leon mange croissant. Um, Bonjour, je suis Marie. Um, yeah, I actually forgot all of that.
that's 9 languages per
Listen,
year. That means in just
I
10
forgot.
years, over 1% of the current languages will be extinct.
I forgot.
Hey, I did it. I got a Gen Z to watch 10 minutes of silence.
Okay, good video. Nah, I'm not believing with the bird thing. There's no way. I'm not believing that. I'm not. Can stay in the air for 10 months and only survive eating insects. So how do they drink though? See, these are the questions y'all have to ask. Because if you don't ask, then there's no answer.